in a very simple, with an easy manner. Just be fully attentive without thoughts interfering. Just a gentle attentiveness, an easy, soft, tender, gentle, relaxed attentiveness. Free of the interference of thinking. Just looking, seeing, without defensiveness. Just looking, seeing without resistance. Just looking and seeing without wanting something. Being does not require thought. Being is your natural ease of awareness. There's no effort in it, no trying, no doing, no getting. And yet, as you allow this natural being openness, at some point there's a kind of a gelling. You know, like Jell-O. 1 minute it's liquid, the next minute it goes whoop. It's a little kind of jiggly. You push one little side and the whole thing goes like that. That's awareness. That's connectedness. That's why when you're tuned in like that, so to speak, naturally there's empathy, because there is no your feelings and my feelings. There's just the movement of sensation. There's the end of ownership. Your stuff, my stuff. Stop getting your karma on me. That's what it means to understand profoundly, not personally, what responsibility really is. The realization that we are literally a part of everything and everyone. We're not even a part. That's a limited mind construct for explanatory purposes. Yes, on a relative level, we are separate individuals, obviously. But that's just the surface presentation. So, this natural cultivation, this natural emergence of attentiveness brings forth interconnectedness of being. Then there's this ease, because all of a sudden there's a beginning of a letting go of the burden of the survival mechanism of our human existence. And I'm not speaking about when we're in naturally survival mode, when that's required or necessary. Unfortunately, as you all know, for most of us, we live in a world where survival mode is normal, and most of the time. That's why we are lost and hopeless and helpless and in despair. Because in a sense, we've lost touch with being, our true being. But you haven't lost touch with it. The fact that you're here is proof that you're not only familiar with it, you're intimate with it. In fact, that's its very nature, is the kind of non-personal intimacy, where there's a closeness, there's a familiarity, there's a nourishment of loving and giving and receiving that's all the same thing at the same time. And amazingly, that perception fulfills us as a human being, as a separate human being. And then it all makes sense. You just can't explain it. And there's the end of the confusion of so-called personal and impersonal, relative and absolute and all that. That's the end of all of that confusion. And you just live naturally as who you are in the world, more in touch with what your individual purpose is, your individual contribution in the ecosystem of all being. And even though you might not be able to write it down or explain it or even understand it, something deep within you completely trusts that movement that is guiding you and everything all of the time. Because now you're in sync with it. That's what awakening is. When you're in sync with it. You can't learn that. You can't read about it and go, oh yeah, I get it. Right on. I mean, you could, of course, and you do, and I certainly did, but the understanding is relative and limited until it becomes the realm that completely, totally, 100% blows your mind. Then you're smiling and you're here. You're actually available. Wow. How rare. How rare. How wonderful. Wait a minute, I need to check my email. Oh yeah, okay, now I'm available again. Wait a minute, let me walk down the street, let's see. I wonder how many people bump into each other that way. Google's going to have to invent little things to keep people from bumping into each other pretty soon. Since nobody's actually going to be looking where they're going. Being present will be a thing of some, what is that? I used to call it, years ago when I was into the teachings of the chicken. The chicken teachings, did you get those? Well, they used to say that you're like a chicken running around with your head cut off. Remember that? Well, I changed it to you're a head running around with your chicken cut off. You have to reclaim your chicken. And then welcome them all home. All of those chickens need to come home. Parts of ourselves that we've cut off from. But that's healing work. Those are the chicken teachings. Those were in earlier, Dharma talks. Chicken is funny. I tell you, there's something about that word. It's funny. How wonderful when you begin to actually experience peace throughout your whole nervous system. And ease. And at least, maybe just for now, there literally is nowhere to go, nothing to do, and no one to be. What a relief. Then we really see. And the seeing is also a feeling, it's a being, it's a listening, it's a connection. It's all systems simultaneously at once. It's a kind of profound synesthesia. You could look that up later. How do you spell that? There should be a phonetic dictionary for those of us who can't spell. I can't spell. Terrible. I have to always, the dictionary doesn't correct because it doesn't know what I'm trying to say. And then, so I have to type it into Google, and then somehow that works. At this stage of listening, very little instruction is required. Even if you're longing or wanting more information, notice that urge, notice that insecurity without fixing it. Allow insecurity. Wow. What if insecurity was nothing wrong? This is just a natural balancing, rebalancing going on. That's how you begin to understand healing. What I mean by healing. Healing isn't necessarily getting rid of a condition. It could be. Could be. But it's a kind of balancing where you're in harmony even with imperfection. So you don't have to beat yourself up anymore for who you're never going to be. Welcome to freedom. Yeah. Let's sit a few minutes and then we'll have our dialogue. Okay. So if you have a question, would like to come up, just sit together, raise your hand, and I'll call on you. And just keep in mind that we eventually podcast these talks, so if you prefer your interaction not be on the recording, let us know and we'll edit it, okay?
Hi, John.
Hi. Hold on, let me just turn on my hearing a little bit here. Okay.
Let's just sit a moment.
Sure, of course. Let your eyes close for this part. Yeah, good. Can you tell the difference with them closed?
Yes.
Good. That's what I was talking about earlier, about seeing without wanting. So much of our seeing is so connected to, probably survival. And so it's we have to retrain our senses, usually.
Yeah, I feel like I'm reaching out.
Yeah, exactly. But when you closed your eyes, you became available. Because then otherwise we don't receive. If you're trying to get, you actually don't receive. Not in the deep way, I mean.
Yeah.
Right. There. See, now you're, even with eyes open.
That's all I needed.
Good.
Yeah.
That's it. We don't usually often need a lot. It's just a little, often just a fine tuning. Boom, that's it. Nice. See, now there's a unified field that's completely circulating through you and everything here. That's what transmission is. That's what that word is describing.
Yeah, my whole body's open right now.
I know. It's great. Because it actually is a kind of entrainment that in some mysterious way teaches everyone instantly. That's how far out this is. I know, it's very cool. We get in the way mostly with our thinking. It's incredible how much we struggle to understand in a way that's completely unnecessary.
Right.
And I'm not saying that about you.
No, it's
speaking
true.
generally.
The harder I try, the more I get in the way.
Yeah, well, that's how we learn. That's how we find our way.
Yeah.
Always. It doesn't. There's no end to that. As frustrating as that is at times. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, John.
Hi.
Can we just sit for a bit?
Of course.
Cool.
Sure. What's beautiful is that you really, more than ever, are allowing your fear. It's not like it's not here, but it's not being resisted. See? Look at that. Feel it open? So there's also a place for acknowledging it in a way, or just recognizing it somehow allows it space to be. See that? There you go.
Yeah, okay.
Isn't that powerful? Yeah. This is so hard to explain this unless it's being experienced. See? Why did it come up? It's okay.
I can feel like as soon as I start going into my heart, or like the pain there, the fear comes. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing to push or do. I mean, it's already, how can I say it? It's evolving in its own way. What we learn, if you want to say how we participate as individuals, if you will, is we learn how to pay attention or be with what's happening in a way that doesn't stop it from happening or interfere with it in the way it's happening or sidetrack it. That's really what practice is for anybody who needs to know what that is, because it's important. Otherwise, we're on robotic, automatic pilot throughout our whole life, could be. Right? Shut down and good to go. Get over it. Moving on. Sorry. Nice. See, really, it is overwhelming. It's beautiful. We finally get to discover what love really is. It's not about getting what we want. It's not it.
I think like for me it feels like interpersonal in a way.
Did you say interpersonal?
Yeah, yeah. So it's like I'm looking at like you and like feeling like it's hard to trust, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. See, that's really good. You get to work with that sort of creation of your mind.
Cool.
You in a way, you begin to really take responsibility for what you're creating in your idea of what you think is the other or what's happening. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Joe.
Oh, yeah, sure. It was great. You're welcome. Yeah, it's so easy to want to make conclusions about what's happening in our life, you know. We see it in a very particular way, and it's sort of, you know, then it's easy to talk about, tell your friends about it or whatever, you know, and they'll have a certain idea about it, and that's sort of that. But but then there's the much deeper process that when you're really honest with yourself, you realize you don't know. And so it's the circumstances are calling you to let go of your need for a conclusion, for an answer, for a direction even. And something about being in that cauldron, maze, labyrinth, whatever, works through you. And that's usually a frustrating, difficult time. It could be a physical condition, it could be personal, it could be a lot of things. But I have always found, and continue to even now, right now, is that there's a deeper transformative process happening. And that's not a belief or a conclusion either, but it's just, it becomes obvious as you become more attuned and connected. The feedback mechanisms really will underline it, not your mental need for control and in thinking you know what's happening. It doesn't happen that way. That's just ego wanting to be in control, that's all. Wanting to feel secure. So my own, just on a personal level I could share, I had an injury recently where I fell and injured my sacrum and my spine, and there's been all kinds of sort of repercussions with that and things, and it's going into other areas, other things are happening now, and it's been, what I can say now is that actually now I'm realizing it's like this, and it always is, in hindsight, this incredible teaching and transformation that's happening. And it's like, whoa. It literally forces one to pay attention in a more deep way, and something, you might say, changes on a relative level as a result. Fascinating. Fascinating. Come on up. That's why I like to, if you don't mind me finish, that's why I like to really, emphasize the importance of not pushing away what we call the conditions, but actually embracing them in a way where you can begin to see that they're actually guiding you in a way that your mind does not get at all, because it doesn't go along with the agenda of what you think you want. Okay. Glad you got that.
So one thing I wanted to share first was that when I taught English in Spain, all of the students confused the word chicken with kitchen. And vice versa. And so we were learning the rooms of the house, and they'd be like, they had to role play and stuff, and students would say like, I am in the chicken, or just I
love it.
I don't know. I just kept thinking about that.
Put the chicken in the chicken. Sorry. Okay, that's good.
So, I guess my question was about orientation.
What do you mean?
I think a thread that I've like kind of put together of tuning into presence is like it seems like a quality that's always there is fear, or like there's always fear.
Okay.
Like that's always part of it.
Okay. And you have any attitude about that?
Yeah,
What is it?
I try to feel as much fear as I possibly can and let it, like, I encourage it.
You're open to it.
Not always. I think sometimes it's more of like a grabbing or like trying to feel the fear. But
Okay.
yeah.
Hold on. Bring attention to trying to feel the fear. There you go. Now you're opening. Feel it?
Mm-hmm.
That's working. And then what happens is the fear instantly transmutes into presence, which it just did.
It's always a
That's
second
what
first. Yeah.
non-doing means.
Oh.
The invisible line that we always fall over, which we don't even notice, into doing, is what we keep learning. See? That's what just happened.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think it's also just...
I mean, it's beautiful that you have the courage to face what's happening, but I'm glad you brought up that one point because that was the most important thing. If you miss that, you'll miss it forever.
Yeah, I think it's weird.
And you'll be seeking forever. Go ahead.
It's like the intuition of the thoughts are still there. The thoughts
It's
aren't
okay.
there, but it's like...
You know, even the compulsion is there. That's fine. This is
Yeah.
where you don't... It's not a problem to be a programmed robotic human being. I mean, that we can work with that. If people try to control it and restrict it or only be in presence kind of thing, that creates I don't even want to go where what it creates. A lot of problems. You know, the spiritual identity that is probably the most dangerous and the most unconscious there is, ironically. I hate to say that, but it is true. And often powerful, which makes it very dangerous, actually. So, anyway. But it's good to know that because, you know, it's like we're working with something that's quite ultimately powerful. So, it is important to have the proper appreciation for what this is and isn't. Okay.
I think I have a little bit of a fear that the fear won't get out of my system if I'm just
that you just expressed. That's
Yeah.
just something that needs to be expressed. That's all. That's just a feeling. That's emotion. There's some human emotion that's just needing to voice itself, to be felt. That's all. That's fine. That's relative human healing work. That's all. Therapeutic work. Important, right? Perfectly fine to have that feeling, that fear. Truth is, the fear is actually evolving you. You couldn't do it without it. That's why, on some level, you get it. You appreciate it. You're open to it. You just think you can do it. That's where we gotta
Yeah.
what can I say, an intervention. That's my role. That's my job there. Because that's always unconscious blind spot.
Can we do that thing one more time? I just want it to be like not another 2 months before I see you again and like feel this. Just make that distinction.
Why in the world would you wait 2 months?
Okay. I don't know. That's probably the last time since I've
I'm
talked
teasing
to
you.
I won't wait 2
I'm
months.
just playing with you. Okay. Okay, so you're right. It's sort of human default fear.
Mm-hmm.
But now something's different, see? You already got what happened earlier in our interaction. It's already there now. It already just worked all by itself. I didn't have to say a word. See? It learns. It's a learning force, actually. That's what's so far out about it. Beautiful. And that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Pleasure. Okay, let's sit for another minute or two. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
So I'm having just today like waves of feeling so sad, and then just like waves of like fucking euphoria.
Oh, I like that. Perfect. I can see it.
It's been a confusing day.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just feel like a lot of was more arriving in my heart. A lot of like throat stuff is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And just this feeling of like not getting what I want is always bringing me back in my heart, in a deep
Good.
way.
Good. That's really great.
Yeah.
I love that. Wow, did you just hear what you said? That's a teaching.
Yeah.
Not getting what I want always brings me back to my heart. Wow. Thank you. That's... True.
Yeah.
And look how much more open you are now.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, ironically, not getting what we want often ultimately becomes the gift that we wanted to receive.
Right. Well, you helped me a lot.
Oh, well, glad I'm able to.
It's just hard to stay here. My heart.
No, and that's the other thing. It's okay to not if you can't.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we, it's really, we keep traversing that fine line of sort of effort and then push. When sort of effort that actually facilitates turns into pushing that actually gets in the way.
Right.
And that is a imperceptible fine line.
Yeah.
And we have to keep going over it to come back, and then kind of keep finding our balance point on that. See? So it's not, so otherwise we're trying to look for the right way, and then we get more controlling, and oh God. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And then you go, and then you get frustrated and say, screw it.
Yeah.
I'm done with this. You know, that's a good sign. That's why I always, when people tell me they're sick and tired of this, I think, oh, thank God. There's hope now. There's hope for real freedom. Disillusionment's an important part of the process. Wow. So, it doesn't mean that it's easy. It's not. And you go through human experience. It's painful, loss, disappointment, all of it. Very difficult to go through the human illness, whatever it is. You know, it's tough. But there's something about the perspective that you have and you're describing and that we all have that actually really is what I mean by the healing movement, that we move into that, we let that show us. We surrender to it, really. You have to. You're forced to let go of control.
Yeah.
Always. That's it. Wow. Where you want to be careful, I'm not saying you personally, I'm just saying this generally, is wanting to make a conclusion about how it is now.
Yeah.
Because that's often the sort of mindset of, well, I'm good to go now.
Yeah.
Get on to the next thing. And that can really create a kind of splitting where we're not connected anymore. And not that, I'm not saying stay in presence 24/7 consciously. That's ridiculous. No. I mean, that's fine if you want to be in samadhi all the time, whatever, you know, it's cool. But it's really not important. Because we already are that all the time. It's not about having to be aware of it 24/7. That's a practice for awakening, and it works, or it can work, not necessarily, but it does help. When you're on that part of your journey, and some of you might be there, and I was there at one point where that's all I put attention on for years. And when I was with my teachers, whoever they were at the time, that's all I was paying attention to. I didn't listen. That's all that was happening until it was just what was happening, period. Irregardless of who was around. The end of seeking. But that's just another stage. That's just another shift. That's all. Certainly not the end of human life. In fact, it's really, in a way, the beginning. You look great.
Thank you.
I mean, it shows, you see. What you're talking about, the hard work you're doing, the pain and suffering you're going through emotionally and all of it, you know, and then the transformation, the sort of recycling and transformation of, you know, the sort of the metamorphosis of it is very present in you. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I feel so deeply guided like every day, and it's like out of this dynamic, but I just forget and I get so scared, you know, and then it's like,
okay. Well, as long as you don't get caught in some negative belief about that.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't be, or that means something wrong. It doesn't. Do you have any stuff like that?
No, it's just so uncomfortable, I think.
Of course. Well,
yeah.
of course. And we don't want to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, give yourself some comfort occasionally.
Yeah.
Soothe the rough edges as needed.
Yeah.
Why not? It's fine. Pushing the river doesn't work. Trust me, I pushed it for a long time, probably many lifetimes.
Thank you.
You're really welcome. Beautiful. Beautiful to be with you. Beautiful to have such a fresh and alive, direct experience of how this really works happening here. It's a tremendous privilege and honor and joy for me to be here with you and support this in whatever way I'm able to. So thank you so much for coming. I look forward to seeing you again soon, hopefully. Lots of love and happy trails. Thank you.